live people here and enjoy the following hour or so, which starts in 3, 2, 1.
You're listening to The Instance.
Hello, everyone around the world, and welcome back to The Instance, episode 602. This is May 19th, 2020. I'm Scott Johnson with Patrick Beja. Hello, Patrick.
Hello, Scott Johnson.
Nice
How
to
are
see
you
you.
doing today?
I'm doing
I
well.
don't know why I'm talking like this.
Yeah, why are you talking like that? What's that about?
I have no idea.
I
think this might be some kind of movie trailer voice for weird people.
You put Patrick in the forest of Scandinavia.
For too long, and this is what happens.
This is what happens. He starts to crack. But I'll tell you, there's another guy on the show who never cracks. You never see his crack. It's Garrett Weinzer. Hello, Garrett. How's it going?
I used to wear really low pants in high school and the early years of college, so many people have indeed seen my crack.
Did you wear those? Okay, in the 90s, there were these pants that were like, I don't know what they're called. They were like really big and wide and stiff and low. But they were also shorts. I think that was it.
Jinko shorts?
Yes.
I had Jinko shorts and a Limp Bizkit t-shirt and a backwards red Yankees hat.
Oh my Lord. Did you eat Limp Biscuits for dinner? Is that what you did? You ate a lot of Limp Biscuits? Is that what you're doing?
I'm more of a sourdough guy.
All right. Well, that's fine. I'm glad that you acknowledged. I mean, you don't wear those things now. You know to say that, hey, the past is the past, right? You're okay with it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, except, it's the end of the world, and I don't think I can think of a more appropriate soundtrack to blast from my doof wagon in the wasteland than Limp Bizkit.
I think that's a fair point. All right. Well, glad to have you both here. We're going to dive into this week's news right now. There has been some gnashing of teeth in the community. Now, I know what you're saying at home. Scott, isn't the WoW community always pissed at something? Well, you have a point. However, this one has risen to frothy levels. We should probably talk about it a little bit. There are major community concerns regarding large amounts of saved echoes of Ny'alotha for corruption. And if you don't know what that means, maybe tune out for the next, 5 minutes or however long it takes us to go through this.
Oh, if we get through this for 5 minutes, I will be impressed.
We'll see how it goes. Anyway, with yesterday's announcement of upcoming corruption vendor being added to the game, many players have expressed concerns over their inability to obtain Echoes of Ny'alotha on their mains. Okay, so while others have tens of thousands of this currency, Echoes of Ny'alotha, stored in their characters, other folks on their mains are concerned. For some, this is going to sound really familiar, all right? Many of you, if you're old enough to remember, at the end of Legion, the Waking Essence currency issues then, very, very reminiscent of this. So now maybe some of you are like, oh, is that sort of thing happening again? Okay, now I'm paying attention. So here's the deal. Before the hotfix that was just launched, Echoes of Ny'alotha only dropped for characters which did not already have all their rank 3 essences, okay? That's before the hotfix. For players who decided to acquire every essence for their class in patch 8.2 or the beginning of patch 8.3, this character did not receive any Echoes of Ny'alotha. You got none. For players who bought all their essences on alts later in the patch, their Echoes of Ny'alotha generation stopped. All right? Is everybody with me so far? Maybe? When the Echoes currency was only used to buy rank 3 essences, this didn't matter. Okay? It didn't matter. Why would somebody who has rank 3 essences need a currency to buy rank 3 essences? Makes sense. Right? I'm not going to have a thing and then spend it on a thing I already have because you already have the thing. Why would you spend it? All right. Early yesterday, Blizzard announced that Echoes of Ny'alotha would be currency that is used for the corruption vendor, in addition to its previous use of buying account-wide essences. All right? That was announced yesterday. With today's server maintenance, which I assume is over now for everybody, all players will be able to earn Echoes of Ny'alotha after one character has completed the Legendary Cloak questline. This does not account for the fact that some players have not had access to their currency for a time since it went live. All right. You can see where the confusion might come in. Blizzard has a response, and people don't think this is good enough, and then we'll talk about it on the other side. Blizzard says this: Echoes of Ny'alotha will be much more abundant than before. As we expand the usefulness of the Echoes, we want to ensure the players who have felt the need to accumulate them don't feel disadvantaged. So we will be increasing both drop rates of Echoes and their costs by a factor of 5. This means that when these changes take effect, a major assault will award 625 Echoes. That's up 125 of them. The cost to purchase an essence will also increase by the same factor, from 500 to 2,500 Echoes. Okay? Again, we're talking about convoluted currency Blizzard made up, so some of this can be a little confusing if you're not following along. All right. So for those of you who already, for those who don't have all your rank 3 essences, this is probably okay. All right? You've been accumulating by doing preferred WoW content anyway, right? You've been out there running stuff that gives you essences and you don't care. However, for the players that acquired all these rank 3 essences, they no longer interacted with the system. Therefore, there's no choice of whether or not to accumulate the currency. It was decided for them that they would receive 0. When doing their preferred content of raids, PvP, dungeons for fun, they received 0 also. Even if they weren't seeking to collect them, their passive abilities would have earned them some supply of Echoes of Ny'alotha. There was no choice. They were never given the opportunity to accumulate them at all. All right. Here's the important bit of that I wanted to get to. The whole thing was designed as a catch-up system. Some are of the opinion, including a article I read on Wowhead pretty thoroughly, they believe that maybe it only is helping those who caught up more, unquote. And so they have suggestions for how to fix it, what Blizzard could do. And then I want to talk about it as a group. Because
Did we mention the new vendor, which is the whole reason everyone's been out of shape?
At the top we did, but only cursorily, yes. They're introducing...
That's the most important thing, is that they're reutilizing this pre-existing currency for a new vendor that was just announced yesterday.
Right. That's their solution. So this is what Wowhead says. And I think I might agree with them. They have suggestions for what Blizzard could probably do to rectify the problem. Reward those who have acquired all their rank 3 essences with a large sum of Echoes of Ny'alotha. Okay? That's the dump everything solution. Just give everybody a whole bunch of extras to sort of make up for this discrepancy. Another option is reset the Echoes currency for all players to 0 or create a new currency. No way they're doing that. And that'll cause more problems than it would solve. And then finally, increase the number of the multiplier from 5 times to something higher, which I think may happen over time anyway, because once they implement the 5 times higher multiplier, give it a few days, they get some data, they decide, this needs to go up or down. I mean, that seems like the kind of number that might move anyway. All right, is the freak out worth the freak out or not? And when we were about to start the show, Patrick was all like, man, I don't think this is much of anything, or it's just players complaining.
No.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
That is, well, I mean, okay.
There's a little bit to unpack.
What does the new vendor give you? Because that's, as Garrett pointed out, key to the whole story. What's the new vendor stuff? So
this is the corruption vendor. It says Blizzard announced that Echoes of Ny'alotha will be the currency that is used for the corruption vendor, in addition to its previous use of buying account-wide essences. With today's server's maintenance, all players will be able to earn Echoes of Ny'alotha after one character has reached their thing. I don't know what you're actually buying there. I assume gear and upgrades.
But that's the thing. Yeah, that's the important part.
Well, you used to buy essences, but you don't need to now, right?
No, yeah. Because the thing that's changing is that you can get other stuff, right? That's the important part.
Right, you can get other stuff.
What's that other stuff?
That's a good question. What is the other stuff? That's the part I didn't really look up. What other stuff do you get?
Then if it's depending on what it is, let's say it's
you can basically make your own corrupted gear. You're going to be able to buy things that allow you to apply corruption to gear.
Okay. So the point is, those who accumulated all the passive gain of the content, or excuse me, of the currency, are going to just have loads of currency for doing nothing. But people who focused on, I don't know, mainlighting high-end stuff, they're not going to be able to get it. They can't do, they don't have as much, is what I'm saying. They don't have as much of the currency, if any at all, right? And they're pissed. They're super pissed.
That's the whole point. Yeah, that's why I was was poking more on the vendor side of things, because it's the fact that it's a new vendor and what that vendor sells that's important. And frankly, the fact that they're reutilizing an already pre-existing currency for something we didn't know was coming.
Right. Let's see. I'm trying to find just a list of the stuff, but the point is, here we go. I found it. Is this correct? Hold on. Corruption vendor. Here we go.
Yeah, there's the blue post on Wowhead right now. It lists like Vessel of Horrific Visions, rank 3 Essence.
There it is. Masterful 1, Siphoner 1,
Twilight Devastation 1.
Right.
Echoing Void. Yeah, these are your corruptions as you get further down that. We've already been able to buy Vessel of Horrific Visions, obviously, but and essences with this currency. But you move down, your 1s, your 2s, your 3s, these corruption levelers. That's what's new here.
Is Blizzard's idea of like, hey, everything's got a +5 multiplier on all this on your drops moving forward of the currency. Is that enough to satisfy people? It sounds like not. It sounds like people are mad.
But so let me just to clarify again, to be sure that I understand correctly. The whole issue is that some people have been able to accumulate that currency because they didn't have all the essences yet, and others didn't accumulate the currency even though they were doing the activities that would give them the currency. Mm-hmm. And so the issue is those who have accumulated the currency and have some remaining will be able to buy stuff from that vendor immediately, while others will need to get more of the currency to get the same stuff.
Right.
Correct?
Yes.
You nailed it.
And it's flipped. It's weighted it's weighted the wrong direction, right? Isn't that the main problem here? Is that...
No, well, I think the what they're saying is you'll be getting that currency a lot faster.
Mm-hmm. They are saying that moving forward, yes.
Right. So, yeah, it sounds like it's a little bit of baby wines. A little bit.
Oh, man.
Because, no, I mean, honestly, like, okay, let's say it takes you, a week, 2 weeks to get that amount of currency. And if it's 5 times faster, it's going to take you 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
So it's essentially 2 days of playing the game that you're quote unquote losing. You didn't quite lose them because you spent that currency to get your essences anyway. So you did get benefits from the currency you farmed, and you're going to get the same amount of currency that others have spent 1 or 2 weeks getting in 1 or 2 days if it's 5 times faster. So essentially what they're saying is, they already have that amount of currency, and it's going to take us 2 days to get that much again. If that is indeed the case, yes, I am calling baby whining, and it's kind of annoying whining. If I misunderstood some of it, then maybe there's something else happening.
Yeah.
But with that quote-unquote description, it is, come on. Like, because the currency you already spent, you could have spent now differently if you had it more, but it's going to take you a couple of days to get that much currency. Yes, I think that's
okay. All right. Counterpoint.
Let me say this real quick. What if they delayed the vendor? Would that fix everybody's problems? Because your point of like, well, you can earn it real quick now after this hotfix, so we give it another week before we put the vendor in. The problem is the vendor's in today, and people who have the currency can just go buy it now, and everyone else is like, really? I got to go spend 2 days now grinding this out again? Because I did everything I was supposed to be doing during that time, and all these other people sort of just passively earned it. It seems like a reasonable thing to be annoyed about. And in a game that's all about new patch, new thing to do, go do the new thing. Well, I can't because you treated me weird with the currency, and now it's funky, and all these people are going to get it, and I'm not going to be able to get it. I mean, it seems like a reasonable complaint to me.
It's not that they're going to get it. It's that they already got it, and I didn't because I had maxed out my stuff, right?
Kind of.
Right.
Yeah. So, Garrett, go ahead. You had a counterpoint.
Is it kind of, or is it that?
Yes. At the same time, like, I think there's more than one reason you could potentially look at this and go, really? Because, like, why are we even reusing a pre-existing currency in the first place? That's another point I've seen brought up, and I kind of agree with. Like, why don't you just... I realize I feel like they make a currency every time they sneeze over on the World of Warcraft team, but with something like this that seemingly came out of left field, why are we reusing a currency that only certain characters and certain players were able to get and weren't aware of? Now, Patrick, I don't think this is a very big deal personally, but
Okay.
I can't help but look at this as the kind of the game of being a game studio. Like if you think of like announcing things and kind of expecting the reaction, if you think of it all of it as a game, how did they not see a negative reaction coming? This seems like the most obvious thing that would piss players off to me.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I'm personally pissed off, but like you just tell me, well, we're going to take a currency that only some players can accrue, and we're going to use it for a brand new thing to get some of the best gear in the game and not tell anyone until a day before it. That's going to make players mad.
Some players. I mean, you have to look at the way the people that are negatively impacted are being negatively impacted. Like, how big a deal is it? And if indeed the big deal is that you'll be up to speed in 3 days of playing, I'm sorry, that's not it outweighs for me the negative aspects of having like a whole other currency to worry about.
Well, if you're,
I mean, you could, as Wowhead suggests, you could also just give a lump sum of the currency.
Yeah, sure. Maybe they could do that. Sure.
Yeah.
They could do that. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but it does sound like the community, and that's kind of a tough thing to evaluate, but it sounds like the community is proverbially up in arms.
Yeah.
And again, if I understand it correctly, it doesn't seem like something that people should be up in arms about. Like, if that's really the whole deal, it's an amount of currency that you have to play a few days to get back.
Well, Apple.
I think it's very much a case of
like,
two things being true at once. Like,
Right.
I don't think it's a.
It might be. Yeah.
I don't personally think it's a huge deal, but I also don't think it would have been that hard to design this a little better.
I agree. That's where I'm at too. These two things are true at the same time. Here's the thing. I mean, I don't care that much either. If you're really, really into retail right now, you probably care a whole lot more than the three of us do. If you're in there every day, and 2 days, 3 days may seem like you've now been put way behind. Apple Biscuit in the chat makes the point that in 2 weeks, no one's even going to be talking about this. And you're probably right. Regardless of what Blizzard does, they'll probably catch up and it'll be fine. Until then, next time one of these happens and we all go, oh, remember in BFA? Yeah, that was like what they did in Legion. Like, it's not like this hasn't kind of happened before. That stuff at the tail end of Legion was just as controversial and just as irritating for players who were affected by it. It just feels like, I think you're both right. I think it's not as big a deal as people are making out to be, but I also think that Blizzard could have avoided this kerfuffle by just having a better plan for how
we just call it a fluffle. I'm not even sure it deserves the cur. I think that maybe gives it a little too much.
Just fluffle? All right,
I'm
fluffle.
with you, Patrick. Like, I think this is like stupid minor, but it's another one of those things too where it's like, I imagine being a community manager and hearing about this ahead of time going, are you sure that's exactly how you want to do it? Are you certain? Are you sure you don't want to just give some to the people who weren't getting any? Like,
Yeah.
please, for the sake of my own sanity.
Yeah.
I understand, but I agree. There's something to that, and it might be because I'm playing less, but I don't know. I've gotten less and less patient for these kinds of things. I don't know, and I'm sure some people will hear this and go like, "Oh, look at Patrick. He's being all like, children, don't bother me in my castle with your puny concerns."
Hey man, listen,
And
you can
maybe
tell the kids to get off your lawn. I get it, Grandpa. Don't worry.
It's, there's a little bit of that, I admit.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. It really feels like the community maybe has always been like this, and maybe it's me who's being less patient about it. But it's really like, I can't see it as something worth of a lot of complaint. I don't know. Maybe I'm repeating.
Do you think it's just part of the 2-year pylon we've been experiencing? Because that's kind of we're still kind of in that whole Blizzard, they're different than they used to be. They're not. They canceled all the stuff I love, or they announced a mobile game and I don't care. Or they screwed up Reforged. Like we're still kind of in that.
At the end of the day, like this is just internet culture. Like, listen, dude. You know what my other favorite thing in the world is? Star Wars.
Yeah. Oh, there's no controversy
there's
around
also
that.
a cottage industry built on outrage. Star Wars.
Yeah. There are entire. I mean, we've said it about WoW before, but there are entire, highly followed YouTube channels that sprung up just to complain about Star Wars films and why everyone's doing everything wrong. And then once you do that, then you got a business to maintain. You got to make sure you're always outraged. I totally get you. It's just part of that. And for sure, it's all amplifying it. But there's just a tiny bit of this where I think Blizzard could have maybe seen that coming. And
yes, they could have, they could have made it probably better. I'm also thinking they have to prioritize. And I'm sure, they realize this could be somewhat problematic and figured, do we want to create a whole new currency? Do you want to put in all the systems to manage an additional currency? Do we want to? I mean, we have other things to worry about as well. Like there are a number of issues that managing a game like WoW entails, and I don't think this should be this would be the most, the highest one on their priority list.
I wish there were 2 currencies in WoW at any given time. Gold, and then 1 more is all you get. And that other one can be whatever you want it to be. Forget about PvP for a minute, but just in the core game, the PvE game, give me gold and give me, the hot sweat of Illidan or whatever you want to be your secondary currency.
Ooh, I want the hot sweat of Illidan.
We all do. You are his scarves. Anyway, just have that be the secondary thing, whatever it is per expansion. I don't want to deal with all the other 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 other currencies. And they do pull back sometimes. They pull way back recently, or recent years, on how many total currencies there were and what you had to do with them. But yeah, that's my overall take, is that just introduces problems into the game. Now they're experiencing another one. They probably could have designed around it. If it were me and I wanted to appease this vocal portion of the community that's very upset about this, I would give them a lump sum of the currency and say, yeah, this is calculated about as much as it would take you to catch up. So here.
Yeah, I think that's exceedingly reasonable.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I bet you end up doing something like that, in my opinion, because I wasn't even going to put this in the notes today, but people were all up and freak out about this. And I just thought,
it is very dry. Like these types of vendors at the end of an expansion are kind of expected. Now, granted, there wasn't much of a run up here.
Yeah.
If anything, maybe just announce it a little sooner. Just give us more of a heads up, which is something I feel like I don't see from the WoW team that much. They tend to give us quite a bit of a heads up when things are coming down the pipeline. But the Hearthstone team lately, my God, they just been like, surprise, here's a patch.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, what?
They're just keep giving, man, those guys.
Where's the hype train? You're supposed to milk the hype. Let me know what's happening before it happens. What are you doing? Also, I'm a podcaster, and this is extremely specific to my needs.
Right. Yeah. What about your needs, you're saying to yourself? What about my
How
needs?
am I supposed to be a shill for your product when I don't know what to shill?
Yeah. Well, today we know what to shill, which is currency. No, I don't know what it is. We're not shilling anything here at the instance, but send us your feedback. We know a lot of you are really worked up about this, and I'd be curious to hear additional opinions. They can. It's fine.
It's also possible. It's also an option.
They don't have to.
Can I come on your front porch for a second there, Patrick, and yell at the kids?
Do it.
Yes.
I really, truly, deep down, could not give less of a shit about this entire topic. I think it is so boring and so dry, and I'm angry at the community for making me come up with an opinion about it.
Right. We had to talk about it because of you. And then look.
I'm also a little angry at Blizzard for making it kind of obviously dumb.
Right.
So that it became an outrage that I then had to formulate an opinion on.
Exactly. That is exactly what's going on. All right. Well, I didn't worry about any of that because I've spent all my time in WoW working on like low-level alts. So let
me tell you about playing a rogue in Zangarmarsh. That's where my current level of enthusiasm is in World of Warcraft.
Whoa, wait, hold on. Or does that mean you're back to classic, or are you taking a swipe at classic? What are you saying?
No, I'm still working on that rogue alt I was talking about.
Oh, the alt. Oh, right.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of your hunter.
now I'm a Blade's Edge, but
yeah. Well, Blade's Edge.
That's the cutting edge World of Warcraft that I'm playing.
Oh, you can get out. You can finally go raid Gruul. You can go do a Gruul raid. Remember that guy? He's down at Blade's Edge. He's cool.
I actually distinctly remember a rogue evasion tanking Gruul.
Yeah.
During one of the taunt swaps.
Sure,
it was fun.
Yeah, I remember. All the hunters were terrified because we would 25 man that, and they would say, "Hunters, please don't use arcane shot in here." And I can't remember what the reason was, but if you hit one of his buddies, it did some terrible thing, and it'd wipe the raid.
I think that was the first boss.
Yeah,
that had like the.
There's like three. Yeah, there were 3 dudes or something. They were all
it was a bunch of ogres
outside the cave or whatever. I don't remember exactly how it went down, but whatever it was you did with arcane shot, or a mage would do something with arcane, one of their arcane abilities, it would just F everybody. And I remember being so afraid I was going to hit a key. In fact, I think I reassigned arcane shot to a different key somewhere way away from my hand so I wouldn't accidentally freaking do it. And then I put it back after we took him down. Memories, man. Memories.
Well done.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. We had another Ian Hausa Costas interview. This time it happened with WoW Chakra. Some interesting stuff was pulled out of here. I kind of cherry-picked some of the stuff we haven't heard before that I thought was interesting. In regards to Torghast, they are hoping to have legendary crafting testable in a few weeks. So for those looking forward to that, that's coming up. Collecting parts for legendary creation will unlock a door just outside of Torghast, where a mysterious smith, the one who crafted Frostmourne. Ooh. Do we know his name? We don't know his name, right?
All I know is I forgive any previous trespass of the WoW team because I am now, my fanboy hat is back on.
Oh wow! Look at you just jumping right back in with the announcement of the dude what made Frostmourne is going to make an appearance. I don't
know who he is, but I know that I care about him.
No, it's cool. I'm all down with talking to that guy. But anyway, he's going to help you use the materials to craft your items. More on Arthas in a minute. Regarding that sort of reminded me of something. We'll talk about it later.
That's my favorite thing about MMOs, man. Taking like some ancient legendary figure and making it a really boring vendor that you interact with on a daily basis.
There you go. I like Hot Dog Fiascos in the chat room. His suggestion is Bob Frostmourne should be his name.
Oh yeah. Bob Frostmourne and I go way back.
Yeah, he and I we're old pals.
Anyway, soul smithing school together.
He also talked a little bit about class trainers and their role in Shadowlands. So if you remember, back in the old days, class trainers, how you got your stuff. If you wanted to learn something new, you had to go to him, and you had to pay a lot of gold to do it. That's not true anymore. They're kind of just sort of wasted space. He did say this: class trainers will teach new players about their different specializations in Shadowlands. And by the way, when you make a new character in Shadowlands, you simply are a class with no specialization until you reach 10. I think that's already the case, but I could be wrong. Maybe it was sooner than that we got.
Oh, sorry. Never mind.
No, what were you going to say? Go ahead.
No, never mind. I misunderstood you. Ignore me.
All right. I'm ignoring you now. Just for a very small second, then I'll listen to you again. Anyway, so yeah, I don't remember how it worked before. And I just did this, so I should remember, but I don't remember how it works. But anyway, you just won't have a specialization until you hit 10, and then suddenly you can choose. So enjoy. Hey, Frost Mages, good news. You're going to start as Frost. I'm pretty sure that's where you're going to start. And you're going to probably stay there for most of your leveling experience in Shadowlands. Okay. They also say there are no plans to have players learn spells from class trainers again, meaning ever in WoW. WoW will never do it again. Trainers are out of luck. They're furloughed permanently. That job is no longer, what do they say in Britain? It's where you've been made redundant. That's what happened, class trainers.
Is that a British thing?
I think so. Don't they say that? Or do you say that?
That's my understanding, yeah.
What do you do in France?
Okay.
What do you say in France? Do you say...
you say, I would like to fire you, but I can't because the state won't let me because we're a socialist wonderland?
Yeah. Is that what happens? Oh, wow.
That's kind of...
What do? They just tease you until you leave? How do they fire you there?
Yeah.
Well, not exactly. You absolutely can fire people, but it's a little bit more difficult.
You have to go. You got
to
prove something or something, right? Or
you have to get to. You have to exchange a certain amount of a new currency and go to Bob Frostmourne and ask him politely, and it takes a little bit of grinding.
Sounds right. That
really,
tracks.
Somebody please go register bobfrostmourne.com.
Oh my gosh, someone should do that. What would we put on there?
Absolutely.
Oh my god, that's so freaking dumb. I love it.
Tom Norm in the chat, who I don't know, maybe he lives there, says they can't fire you, but they can harass you without remorse. All right then. I don't know how that works, but we'll take it. In regards to story, this is some of the stuff I got most excited about because we haven't heard a lot, so it's nice to get a little bit. Says this, Tyrande story will continue. A piece of the burning of Teldrassil in Shadowlands story. The war started in BFA, and it's not over in her eyes. Gun gun. Very intense moment there for Tyrande.
I won't be happy until she stabs Sylvanas with an arrow. Not shoots her with an arrow, Legolas style. Stabs her. Just holding an arrow, just stabs her with it.
Is that really what you want? Is that what you want for her? For her?
Well, she's got all this weird moon dark power now, so she could. Maybe one of the class abilities for moon dark power ranger priestess is stab someone with an arrow. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's one of the powers.
Sure.
This is relieving for me to hear because Jaina kind of went war crazy post the bombing of Theramore, and then she just disappeared for like 3 expansions.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they're picking this back up so soon, although it kind of seems like they have to, seeing as Sylvanas is a very major player in Shadowlands.
Well, hold on. She disappeared she wasn't around for Legion, except she was always in the room yelling at people. Like if you go talk to shit wizard.
So
right.
See, Cataclysm. So Theramore happened in between what?
Cataclysm and Pandaria. I think
it was it was like the very first scenario, because scenarios were a thing in Pandaria, right?
Right. That was new in Pandaria.
Because she barely shows up in Pandaria. She shows up on Thunder Isle, I think, like once, if I remember correctly, and like yells at some blood elves and ports out.
Yeah, she's not there very long. You're right.
Pandaria, we had Warlords of Draenor, and she wasn't.
Oh, I forgot. I totally forgot about Warlords. She was barely in that, yeah.
And then she was barely in Legion.
Well, she was in Legion enough to be seen. Like, you'd go talk to shit wizard Khadgar in New Dalaran, and she'd be standing there going, I hate everybody, and there's a white streak in my hair now, and that was about all you got from her. So
that was like her one scene in Pandaria as well. Like I said, she got like one scene in Pandaria, nothing in Draenor, one scene in Legion, and then finally, it's like, hey, Jaina was like ready to murder everybody. What's going on? Oh, don't worry, BFA, we're gonna get to her, and they did.
Yeah. Chat says we need a night elf big bad. I don't know. I mean, Illidan is sort of that. I mean,
he was.
And then he was a hero again, but
he's a hero again. Can we make Malfurion the big bad? Because I can't stand him and I kind of just want to kill him.
Listen,
he is so annoying.
He is a tree prophet. Tyrande. Why don't you love? You should love him. He's the worst. You're right. He's the worst. He's the worst.
I love night elves, and Malfurion just bores me.
Okay, but you got to admit, in that in-game cinematic they did not too terribly long ago, when he turned into the bear and attacked the orc or whatever.
That was pretty cool.
That was badass.
All right, it's like you're pointing out like that one Clone Wars episode where Jar Jar is bearable.
Right, kind of. Yeah, you're not wrong. But there's that great.
That was very cool. That cinematic is amazing.
It's very good. That in-game stuff was great. Oh, he also said, well, it's a ways in here, so I'll get to it in a second. But there's some news on that front as well. All right. Anyway, he said many important characters from Azeroth will be in Shadowlands in some form, and the team's excited for everyone to see what different characters end up being in it. He says Arthas is obviously somewhere in Shadowlands. So Garrett, hold on to something here. But they want to be respectful with the character, he says. We will learn more about him and his true nature, but we will most likely will not be adventuring or interacting much with him. But he'll be there in some form.
Worst expansion ever.
Well, what do you want to do with him? What do you want to do? Roll with Arthas and... Like, what do you think?
You have Sylvanas, who was created by Arthas, basically. And you're... What? What are you doing?
But the thing is...
Are they looking at Marvel and go, how do we do the opposite of this, which is good?
Yeah,
all right. Hey, we've got a main big bad of an expansion that is directly tied to the now dead big bad of a previous expansion existing in a realm where we are endlessly questing up a tower that looks like that character's freaking home.
Yeah.
And we're just gonna keep him in the shadows.
But
okay,
but look,
sure. You know what I want? I want no Thanos in Endgame. That's what I want.
I get it. I get what you're saying, but I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to bet money on this, but I'm willing to bet nothing that he is somehow part of the final raid of that expansion. He's part of the Maw. There's something in there. He's second or third before you get to freaking the jailer or some bullshit. It's totally going to happen. It's not going to be just some reference or, hey, I think that's where Arthas lives up on some tower or something. He's going to be in it more than that. So does that help you feel any better that I have no information and I told you that just to help you feel better? Do you feel better now? Yes. No. Sorry, Patrick. No. Go ahead.
I will be happy if Arthas comes back, but I do wonder, do we really want like them to bring back the same characters over and over again forever?
No.
To not, this is I think a flaw of many popular culture properties, which characters are never dead. They're never, they come back no matter what happens. And that no one ever dies, kind of, comics, but not only comics. And I don't know. I like the idea that, okay, this one is done. This one has had his story arc. Yeah. It was a great story arc, and it was finished.
I think he's the jailer, by the way. It's totally the jailer. We all think the jailer's a new character. It's like Arthas reincarnated, man. I'm telling you. You watch.
At the same time, I really want to see Arthas again.
Yeah.
So, but listen, everyone's there. Everyone is in Shadowlands, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone is in the Shadowlands.
This is going to be my counterpoint to everything you just said. Was just Patrick. This is literally the Dig Up the Dead expansion. This is the point of this expansion.
Yeah.
Like we could,
but like an interesting way, not like
Hitler.
Draenor.
We can get.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Arthas or Garrosh is up there someplace.
Yeah,
everybody's
there.
Everybody.
I hope Garrosh is in I want like bad Adam Sandler Little Nicky levels of Garrosh is in hell getting pineapple shoved up his ass. That's what I want.
Wow. Wow. Wait, pineapples, why? Because they go in the wrong way and they hurt real bad? Is that why?
The literal scene in Little Nicky is they're like, oh, I got to go shove pineapples up Hitler's ass. I'm busy today.
I don't remember that.
It was one of those weird movies I watched way too many times when I was a kid, so I have retained far too much information about one of the not so great Adam Sandler films.
Yeah, it's not a great movie.
That is what was happening in the movie that you were watching as a kid.
Well, it was just a reference.
When I say a kid, I was probably like very early teens.
Okay, I guess that's
the
perfect time to be watching Adam Sandler films.
We've been talking about pineapples and butts, I've come to even a stronger conclusion that I think the jailer is Arthas, and Sylvanas knows it, and we're going to have that big reveal at some point. So mark my words, today, Tuesday, May 19th, 2020, I made the call. Arthas is the jailer.
Let's see. They told us there'd be shades of gray, and there wasn't, and they're telling us there won't be Arthas, so there probably will be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to go off of the opposite of whatever they're telling us with story anyway. All right.
What if they do an Avengers like reunion of all the baddies from all the whole story of Warcraft?
Yeah.
And everyone is there. I guess the Legion doesn't go there, although
do they?
Maybe now that Argus has been destroyed, they don't have a world to regenerate on. Maybe they also go there.
So there are Dreadlords, but I'm not exactly sure why.
Yeah, why are there Dreadlords?
What about Sargeras? Maybe we just killed him an expansion ago, and he's like, "Hey, my dudes."
I know at least
Sargeras is canonically dead. I believe he's like imprisoned wherever Illidan went.
Yeah, it's the 10,000 year prison thing. Here's what I think. There will be at least 3 or 4 Fel Reavers that I helped kill. They'll be in Shadowland somewhere. Pretty excited about that.
No, it's definitely going to be 3 of me that was killed by the same Fel Reaver over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they're gonna do whatever they're gonna do. But I'm torn on this point because I wouldn't mind sort of a Arthas as the jailer twist. I don't know why. I
kind of honestly assumed it, but like when they were playing coy with the jailer, I was like, oh, it's Arthas. It's totally Arthas. Like, who else would be the Arthas?
Yeah.
Oh, I really hope it's not Arthas.
Like, I thought it would have been a wonderful, like, okay, Patrick, I get that you hate fun, but like,
this is why I love Blizzard.
When they were being coy, I was just like, oh, clearly, like, what a great twist. Sylvanas is now in charge of Arthas instead of the other way around. She finally came full circle. Like, this is like, it's Warcraft. It's super campy.
I could live with that story arc. He doesn't need to be the jailer for that to be the case. I just don't want every character to be a recycled older character all the time. Like I do think there's value to having different stories with different characters.
I'm fine with anything as long as it's good. Because I think Draenor is a bad example of recycling old characters, and I think Legion is an amazing example of recycling.
Yeah, that's
characters.
true.
I like the story in Draenor.
Yeah.
I like I think the expansion itself was bad. I'm not sure, at least the setup of the story, Garrosh going back in time to bring back his, horde the way you think the story was bad?
No,
I thought it was kind of crap. Yeah.
You just don't like orcs. He doesn't like orcs. You can't talk about that with Garrett without realizing how badly he dislikes orcs.
I like orcs. I don't like orcs as much as Blizzard likes orcs. They're not as interesting as they think they are.
I mean,
that is a fair
assessment. That's actually
Garrosh,
pretty fair.
But to me, Garrosh peaked in Pandaria.
That
was like peak. Like, oh my god, they actually made a new villain that's not tied to Warcraft 3 that has like ascended entirely in World of Warcraft. Yeah. And I was so impressed. That's part of the reason I love Pandaria so much is Garrosh's arc. And then it's just kind of I don't know. I don't know. To me, it just felt very fan servicey and not in an interesting way.
How many chat rooms seems to be hinting at this? How many Murlocs do you think are in Shadowlands, and where do they keep them?
That should have been, it would have been a really labor-intensive gag, but we've killed so many Murlocs. There should be an entire continent dedicated to the souls of slain Murlocs.
Yeah, and all you hear
is be a zone.
Just constant, like, just this hum of horrible Murloc voices, and
there's just mountains made of Murloc eyes.
Yeah, just mountains of Murlocs, spiritual dead Murlocs. I'm in on this wacky plan.
I'm sure there's going to be some Easter eggs or jokes about this, right? There has to be.
There's gotta be. I hope they do like a gag island in one of the patches that's just nothing but Murlocs.
Nice. I like your plan too. Bolvar will also be involved in the pre-expansion events and the story of Shadowlands. Sylvanas left him alive at the end of their encounter, so he's still around, according to Ian. I think we knew that though. So he went on to say that war mode is a thing. It's a real deal. Oh wait, I'm missing part of this. Hold on, I didn't mean to skip that. Okay, talked about legendaries and catch-up mechanics. There will likely be some sort of catch-up mechanic for legendaries throughout Shadowlands. The system is designed so that a fresh alt can start aiming toward a legendary right away, unlike Legion. The team is experimenting with making legendary recipes account-wide for alts. So that's probably going to sound good to somebody out there. All right, war mode. You know war mode that we have now where you turn it on or off depending if you want to do PvP on your server or whatever? Well, the team is continuing to build upon war mode in Shadowlands. There might even be more free-for-all events instead of faction events, including the possibility of changes between covenants. Or challenges between covenants, sorry. So that could be interesting. Make war more of a thing. I kind of forgot about it, to be honest. I sort of just don't have it on anymore because I don't want to be bothered. But when I was rolling with you guys and we had it on and we were doing like...
oh, dude, like the first 2 weeks of the expansion,
it was really fun. Yeah.
We were just taking over entire zones. It was amazing.
It was so much fun. I can't wait to do that kind of thing again. It was a blast.
I think it's really easy to kind of forget, but I think war mode is probably the most successful feature of BFA.
Oh, interesting argument. Let me think what else would be.
It had moments where they were, trying to rebalance different things and it kind of swung, kind of messed things up. But overall, I'm really happy with war mode overall. It's like the big thing. I'm kind of walking away from BFA being like, this was a major kind of overarching change to the way you can play World of Warcraft, and I think it was really successful.
Yeah, it worked for what they were trying to do. I think you make a good point. It is sad though that it's because I'm trying to think of a better feature during this expansion, and I can't. So it's both good and bad. Like war mode is the best feature. is true, but that's because the competition for best feature this time around, was not great. Islands were islands sucked. They just sucked. They weren't great. It wasn't great. It should have been great. It wasn't great.
Warfronts, I'm not even talking about.
I hate Warfronts. I hate them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, without the scroll of grievances against BFA and getting back into that, I would like to also point out I really like Corrupted Gear. I know some people don't. I really like Corrupted Gear.
Well,
I think Corrupted Gear is a really interesting concept at the very least.
You also wore those weird shorts in the 90s, so I know you like Corrupted Gear long before you got in the World of Warcraft.
All right, Scott, let's not talk about what you were wearing in the 80s. Okay?
Yeah, you know, I know. I have no way to. In fact, I was even in my own realm. I'm not kidding you. This is the truth. I would go to Payless Shoes and I would buy the worst pair of shoes and then I would paint them different colors depending on what week and what mood I was in. That's how I dressed. I didn't have any kind of cool like trends I followed. I like spray painted a pair of sweats and wore that for like a month. Like just I was a weird kid. We don't want to get into how weird I was. I was weird. All right. Also, this is great. CGI cinematics. He says the team, this is, I think, good news given what we had last time, because it was one of the strongest points of the expansion. You know what? I'm going to change my opinion. War mode was not the most successful feature of the expansion. The CGI story spread throughout the expansion's lifetime was my highlight of this expansion. Even if we may not have been happy where the story went, whether you liked what's his name's arc or not, whether you liked the Sylvanas arc or not, those are different issues. But getting regular, full-blown CGI team cinematic stuff out of Blizzard during an expansion was a really nice treat, I thought. It says here the team will continue to use all the expected media seen in Battle for Azeroth throughout the Shadowlands. So we can expect in-game cinematic stuff that's really well done, like we had last time, and we can expect hopefully a whole lot more in terms of CGI, which is exciting to me. I know it's a small thing. It's got nothing to do with gameplay, but I'm a fan. Any dissension on that point?
No, I don't think it's a small thing. I think it's a pretty big thing, and it's pretty cool.
Okay.
It's gonna be Bolvar, right? That's gonna be the Sourfang.
Yeah, probably.
You follow.
Mm-hmm. And then whatever models they made, they'll just use those again. So whoever you're used to seeing, I don't know, they'll introduce somebody though later. Like they'll probably keep. What's Thrall doing in this? Because when this thing ended, he's carting off the body of Sourfang with Zappy Boy and King Weenie Head, and are they not? I don't know what they've not said what the deal is with those guys. Are they going to carry forward into this in a major way, or what's the plan?
He's gonna give his shield to Zappy Boy. He's gonna go through the Dark Portal, and he's gonna and then Zappy Boy is gonna turn around and see old Thrall, and he's gonna say, "No, I don't think I will."
You think that's how it'll go? Hold on. Will old Thrall? Oh, you don't mean old Thrall like. You don't mean old like he's green and hunched over like the old days. You mean like old man Thrall is what you mean. Is that what you mean?
Thrall is going to have the ending of Endgame. That's what Thrall's going to have. I have no idea. I'm not entirely sure they know what they're doing with Thrall, because I feel like it wasn't very telegraphed. I kind of felt like I love that cinematic. I love the cinematic where Sourfang goes and gets him, but I kind of feel like it was just, what's the point?
Wasted, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He didn't do anything. He just stood on the sidelines.
Well, see, that's my whole point. He had vengeance face at the end there. The camera zooms in, ends on him looking like seriously determined to get vengeance for his fallen comrade. But then now what? Like we just haven't gotten the end of that.
Listen, if anyone has reason to go just end Sylvanas, it's Tyrande. I swear to God, if Thrall steals Tyrande's Thunder, I'm going to riot and just I'm going to abandon any cares I have for the Warcraft story.
All right, so Thrall can go hammer kill freaking Malfurion, but don't mess with Tyrande, you're saying. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we're going to have like a multi location fight like the end of every Star Wars movie ever, where Thrall gets to face off against Nathanos, but Tyrande has to fight Sylvanas.
Welcome to the forest. You're looking for my wife, and that's all I want to hear from him for the whole experience. That's all I want to hear.
Wait, no, that's Malfurion.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I'm still thinking about Malfurion. When Thrall comes in to do the talking, to make an alliance, all he gets to do is say, welcome, and move out of the way and be done. That's it. Go ahead and heal something or go pray to a tree, do whatever shit you got to do, Malfurion. But you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. All right.
Someone put Max in his back, please.
Here's another, the home city of Oribos will function like Dalaran did in Legion, while the Covenant Sanctums will function much like Order Halls. And that will be in the beta soon. Real soon. So we get to see what that is. I'm excited about that, actually. I always like whatever the home city is. I remember thinking Shatrath was the coolest damn thing in the world, man. You guys remember that? And it had the scryers and the whatever they were, and if you got on one side, you did, yeah. And if you got on that side, I wasn't them, so I never remember their name. But if it went over there,
the scryers tavern's way cooler.
That's what I'm saying, basically. And they would attack you if you weren't part of them, and it just was a trippy, cool home city idea, which just I thought Shat Raps was so cool. If you go by there now, though, it's way too flat and like spread out and like old MMO-y looking. It's not great, but at the time it was awesome.
Yeah. Also, the idea of a cross-faction hub was like, it blew my mind the first time I went there.
That was like new. That was some new ideas there, which was really cool. They haven't really done that since. But anyway, well, I guess they have done cross-faction hubs, but they've done
100%.
They've done it a different way than they did there. All right, so this next story is an ugly one, but only because the thing I'm going to talk about is really, really ugly. Beast.
Oh man, audio listeners, click the link.
Yeah, you guys are going to want to take a look at this thing. So let me put it up for you guys at home. There we go, so you can see it. There is a new World of Warcraft Sylvanas dynamic action hero. She is a 1/9 scale, full featured, highly detailed, and articulated model of Sylvanas, the Dark Lady. Says here she will have 24 articulated points to achieve a realistic recreation of her game character, as if she came right out of World of Warcraft, they say on this page. She will feature a real fabric outfit and realistic styled hair that is made from a woolen material. This is from the Beast Kingdom team. They say they put a lot of work into it. When I first read this, I got all excited, and I thought, sweet, I want a Sylvanas statue or action figure or whatever. And then I looked at it, and I realized something's wrong with her face. Look at her face. There is something wrong with that face.
So, Scott, you do draw stuff, right?
Yeah,
you do things with pencils and whatnot. So I had heard the term polishing a turd before I went to art school, but it was really beaten to my head in art school because this so much to me looks like when someone would just render the living hell out of their drawing of a person, but they had no idea how anatomy worked or proportions.
Yeah.
It's like they just rendered it to shit, but their starting point was just way off. The head was too small. The shoulders were too wide apart. The knees were way longer than the elbows. Like, that's what this looks like. It's really detailed, but oh boy, those proportions are all wrong.
Yeah, it's some kid's sketchbook from 9th grade art. There's other problems. The head's weirdly centered wrong. The shoulders don't go right. I don't know if they just pose them poorly, but that face is just wrong. So I don't know if I have any interest in this. I do like their statue that they did a lot. Their statue stuff is amazing, but those things are like $400 for that scale one.
Well, hey, you get what you pay for.
You do get what you pay for. So get excited, everybody. Coming soon. This is what the bottom of the thing they say. This is one figure that dedicated fans of World of Warcraft do not want to miss. Also comes with, by the way, 5 pairs of interchangeable hands. So here she is locking a arrow into her bow. Here's her hand just being like hanging there doing nothing. Here's another hand flipping the bird. I don't know what the other hands do, but there's 5 articulated hand sets. This would normally be totally my jam, but I can't look at that face. I can't do it. Sorry, guys. You blew it.
Sideshow Collectibles, this is not.
No. All right. I have 2 boring stories because I know you guys like those lately. So I'm going to bring you 2 of them this time, all right? I thought of Patrick when I did this first one.
Patrick, do you have your veto card ready?
Yeah, you ready to veto this?
I said something once. Once.
I know, but Scott. I like it. I'm making it a thing. I'm trying to make fetch happen, all right? So here it is.
All right.
There's a World of Warcraft esports Twitter handle now. So go follow WoW Esports if you want to follow the latest in hot WoW Esports. Okay, that's boring story number 1. All right?
I have a take.
Oh, give me a take. Go for it.
I
seriously thought this already existed.
You thought it already existed?
I can't believe this wasn't already a Twitter handle.
It wasn't already a thing. Well, I mean, just for WoW itself. Yeah, that's true, though. Like, for all the arena years and everything, you'd think they would have had something. So, I don't know why. But it's new. It's brand new. And Patrick, you say there have been boringer? Is that what you said?
Yes. I think this is not the most interesting story, but you've done better.
Okay.
Let's put it this way. It's no height comparison chart.
Okay, you're right. Then
by the way, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's fine. You're fine.
I'm going to link 2 things, one from last week and one from this week.
Mm-hmm.
Height comparison chart.
Yeah.
This statue that you just talked about is a 1/9 scale.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Which means we can deduce by measuring the statue and multiplying that measure by 9, we can deduce the exact height of Sylvanas.
But that sounds so
And
boring.
then,
Go ahead.
I'm just saying. I agree. It's just that you seem to like boring stuff, so I'm eating your.
See, I'm making it work. I'm making this a new thing on the show, finding boring stuff for Patrick. Okay, how about this one?
The World of Warcraft podcast, so you don't have to.
That's right, Warcraft.
You're snoozing to the instance.
There, see? It writes itself. Okay, here's the other boring one. A Redditor named Mush PMC recreated Arathi Basin in Minecraft. That's cool.
I actually I dig this.
Yeah, this stuff's cool.
Quite a bit.
I can't.
And since we've been talking about aesthetic and what we find visually appealing, I will take any Minecraft recreation over any game done in the Unreal Engine, because every game done in the Unreal Engine, it's always something that's beautiful and stylized for a reason. They put it in Unreal, and it's like, hey, do you want to know what your favorite game would look completely devoid of art direction?
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah. I don't like that either. I like the idea that the game could, that one day the tech would Blizzard would do an MMO with that kind of tech in mind, but still have the art direction at the same time. That's really compelling to me. But just a recreation because you have the tools to make, Orgrimmar. It's not enough. It's not the same. Or Stormwind.
I recently saw a Ocarina of Time done in Unreal, and I was like, that looks terrible.
It's not what you want. It's not what you want.
It's like Counter-Strike crates level of sterile.
But Minecraft impresses me because that looks just like a giant pain in the ass, and I appreciate anyone willing to do something like that. And wish I had
it's a tool set that you immediately understand as anyone who's ever even taken 5 seconds to try Minecraft. Like you know what goes into it, you know what they were working with. And that's why I like Minecraft recreations. It's because we all basically have like a barometer for how much effort it takes.
Right. Exactly. All right. On that note, we're doing this early.
Hear ye, hear ye.
Why, it's the town crier.
Birthday shout out to the town crier. He turned 20 this week. Think of that. Yeah, I know.
That photo you tweeted, what was it? 5th birthday, and you were like, this was taken in so-and-so when Batman Begins came out. And I was just like, I am going to start coffin shopping. That is what
It was like Revenge of the Sith, Batman Begins, and Serenity. We're all in theaters. We were a year away, 8 months to a year away from the instance even launching. Like, that's just weird. And he's 5 years old. Now, he's 20. Ooh!
I was literally graduating high school.
Exactly. You were probably with high marks and dumb pants or bad shorts or whatever.
We'll just call them marks.
Okay,
they were marks.
That's fine. Anyway, so we're going to do some quick ones here that we got from people on the Twitters and on the email and everything else. If you guys want to email us, it's theinstance@gmail.com, or you can use the quick comment thing on the website. It's super easy to use. Here's one from Bruce who says, we are 15 years on. Do you guys think that WoW 2 is ever in the cards? How much time has to pass?
No.
5 years ago, I would have said no. I'm starting to wonder that if we here's what I think. As the game nears 20, that might be when Blizzard. I don't think you can just coast on this for this. Because this is the big flagship thing, and after a while, it's not going to be that anymore. You gotta. I know there are other games in the works. I know they got other stuff going on, but nothing to this scale. So I don't know. This is more about what I want, not what they'll do. Okay, I know that.
But what would World of Warcraft 2 be?
I want it to be.
You just want them to have a clean slate and just start from the beginning so that you get the clean slate? Because I think what most people think of when they think WoW 2 is graphics, right? Mm-hmm. I'm guessing, maybe it's not the case, but graphics-wise, I don't know that they would do things super differently from what they're doing now. You know, they've always had relatively low spec graphics for everything, and they have, as we've talked about many times, improved the engine a lot in WoW 1. But even more than that, the big issue with an MMO getting a sequel, it has never worked properly, because then you get the conundrum of, do I get a new character? What happens to the old ones? Do we just lose everything, these characters we've been playing with for so long. And yeah, it's just, technically we've been playing with them, but we just reset everything every expansion, so it doesn't matter. But still, people care about it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it would have to be a sequel to WoW in the way that WoW was a sequel to Warcraft 3, and it would need to be leaps and bounds like WoW was for Warcraft 3. Even and in that case, it even jumped genres, but it needs to be something huge. And I'm not saying they'll do it, and you're probably right. I think you make a fair argument, and there's a reason it hasn't happened up till now.
You're saying it needs to be something huge, something like what? Like an entirely different MMO? Is that what you're saying?
That is what I'm saying. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to jump to this dude here named Cranky Troll, who says a thing that I would rather them do. And this is what he says. He says, if you had to pick only one, WoW as it is today, or a standalone, huge single-player game set in Azeroth with modern graphics and a world larger than Skyrim's, which would you pick? I would pick that second one. I know that sounds crazy, and we live in a world where maybe we can have both, but I would love it if they would just take the shackles off of, got to make sure this fits as many PC specs as possible, and just went crazy with, like, let's put this on consoles and compete on PCs and everywhere, and let's have a big, fantastic, incredible Skyrim level. I use that just for comparison. I'm not looking for the same game again, but something like that in Azeroth.
That's a different question, though.
That'd be, I know,
that's a different
but
question.
that's my point. I don't really want WoW 2. What I want is that.
Right.
That's what I want. And you can still have WoW. Have it over here doing its thing. 30 years later, that's fine. Just keep it cranking on it. But over here, have this amazing, incredible, polished single-player experience. Would just be amazing. They're not going to do it, but I want it. All right? That's what I'm saying. Thanks.
It would be very cool. It also would be like asking Disney World to replace everything down to the pipes and start over.
Yeah, it is kind of, right? And others have tried this and they failed. Like, that's the other thing, is we've learned from things like EverQuest 2 and things like Asheron's Call 2, and even RuneScape has more reverted to its roots than its proper sequel. Like, you're totally right.
It works better for more on the Diablo side of things. Like, it works for Destiny. It works for Diablo.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't work for Destiny.
Well,
they had Destiny 2, and that a lot of people were angry that it wasn't, they lost everything in Destiny 1.
Well, I'm going to take a page out of your book and say they were just whiners. I was totally fine with it.
Yes, that is exactly what I said. Anyone who ever complains about anything is a whiner. That was my point.
Here's what they don't do. What makes Diablo different? If Diablo was trying to put out a new version of its own game every 1 to 2 years, I don't think people would have patience for that. I think that if Destiny released a game as often as Diablo releases a game, people would be much more into the idea of a brand new Destiny. The problem with Destiny,
I mean, with the caveat that Diablo should have had another expansion for 3.
Well, that's true. I mean, that should have happened.
If Diablo had an expansion every couple of years, I guarantee you it would start adopting the WoW model of having, it would kind of become an MMO, because you would reset every expansion and you wouldn't keep your gear probably, because it's just not sustainable.
Right.
And the thing with WoW is that they change the systems so much. Like, this is the ultimate proof that they don't need a WoW 2. They actually had to go in and recreate WoW 1 with Classic, because WoW has changed so much that it became a WoW 2. Now, they could make a very different game, a very different MMO, but it wouldn't necessarily be WoW 2, right? It could be there are many different ways they could have evolved WoW, and maybe another way could have been more fun or more different, or maybe a clean slate provides a more different experience. But my point is, this current version of WoW that we have now might as well be called WoW 2, given how different it is from the original one.
I get it. Garrett, you were gonna.
It was just kind of a micro correction to Patrick. Like, they also had to recreate Classic because they didn't have it anymore. It was lost in a fire.
Yeah, I mean,
like, they didn't have the choice necessarily.
Right.
But
No,
also
sure, but the point
like
is that the two versions of the games are so different that they can coexist at the same time, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like having, like, it's trying to illustrate the fact that the current one has evolved beyond the point of being recognizable to people who started with
yeah.
it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this question comes up once every 2 months, and
Yeah, that's
my
true.
reaction's always the same, which is like, yeah, it'd be really rad to have a new engine from the ground up, but the World of Warcraft I know and love, but it just seems so wholly unrealistic to me.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it. There'd have to be some huge
The engine
breakthrough in
thing,
tech.
again, the engine thing, I don't think would change if they were to create an engine from zero, from scratch, for World of Warcraft today. I think it would be marginally different from what we have currently.
Well, it would need to
Okay,
be more than that.
completely bold-faced disagree.
Yeah,
with
I
you.
totally disagree with that as well. It would need to be more than that, or don't do it. It would have to be. I'll give you an example. If I do a quest right now and they say, "Hey, go get me that barrel of beer," says a dwarf. All right. So I walk over to the thing. I just did this in a quest. When I go over there and look at the thing and I click on it, the barrel flies up to me and lands on my back magically. And then I walk it back to the dude, and then it disappears somehow when I give it to him. In a new kind of game, that engine better be capable of me leaning over with my grumpy orc and going, throwing that thing on my back and then walking it over there. We need the fidelity of a game like, and an RPG experience like The Witcher, or like even the new Assassin's Creed games. Odyssey is a great example of this. There's just a lot of tactile stuff going on. I would need systems like that. It can't just be, this is a prettier version of the exact same thing with all the limitations that the current engine has gameplay-wise.
No, but the point that I'm making is that I think if they were they have always done highly stylized, very low spec graphic engines that run on a toaster, that run on anything. It's not that they couldn't do it. It's just that they choose not to do it the way you're describing.
Yeah.
They've never done that ever.
Right.
And I don't think that
There's so many. I'm going to just stick with Scott's example. There's so many different avenues that you could point and look to, but like a lot of that just to me feels like a limitation of the engine, because why would it look that bad? That the hands are like, you're rendering the hands, you're rendering the barrel. It shouldn't take any more computing power to animate the barrel moving in sync with the hands, as opposed to having just a lame float animation.
Yeah.
That to me looked like, I don't know, and I don't think any of us do, because we're not game developers, but I'm assuming that is a limitation of the engine and not a stylistic choice to make it look poopy.
I think you're probably right.
They redid the models, what, 3 years ago, 5 years ago?
Yeah, whenever
Dragonlord.
Warlords. Yeah, Warlords was the change.
Right.
Yeah.
They could have made the models as you described them. They just remade them.
But it's you're pointing at one thing though, because if like suddenly we have Witcher style models, well, what do you do for the rest of the world?
Yeah,
you got to go back to every zone, every asset, and bring it up to that fidelity.
Yeah, it's not
No,
just
but
characters.
the whole point of WoW, the reason why it still looks relatively good, is that they didn't go photorealistic. This is.
I'm not saying photorealistic.
Yeah, I don't want that either. I don't want that either.
Higher graphical fidelity and still have a style to it.
Yeah, that I agree with that.
Sure.
And I would make the point.
No, of course.
They should never go for photorealism. But if they could just, here's what needs to happen. And this is, I'm going to put this in the possibility column. Okay, one day, through machine learning, AI, I don't know what it is. And I'm just reminded of this because the demo for the Unreal 5 engine last week was interesting, because they talked about how they're taking these many triangled objects and bringing them right into the game, and then they don't have to dumb it down at all. Just the engine knows what to do with it and can do many of them and process it all. And it was very cool to listen to, but it made me think, you just get to a point where this stuff's smart enough where you say, all right, we know these are this kind of tree. We know these are these kind of rocks. We know this is this kind of land mass or whatever. And we know these characters look like this, and all the things they wear look like these things. Some way of just going, we're taking everything that's under the hood, but we're making it all look a shit ton better. And that could happen one day. We're not there. We're nowhere near there. But one day that could happen, where a company as big as Blizzard could figure out that stuff and through whatever process, some super AI, that super AI goes through all of that, and suddenly your game is a way better looking thing with very little human interaction. It's entirely possible that that's in our future, but probably not for WoW, is my thinking.
Okay. Yeah, you guys are not understanding what I'm saying. I'm saying it's a choice to make it look the way it does look now.
Oh my God, Patrick. Christ, dude. I understand that because I said the exact same thing 10 minutes ago.
No, but Scott is saying, oh, but if they could, they would make it look like this and like that and more, detailed and more blah, blah, blah.
I think they would. I do think that they would. I am making that point because I believe that they would.
I sometimes feel like I'm talking to walls.
Well, hold on. I understand what Patrick's saying, and yes, the stylization was the smartest thing they ever did. Like,
I think,
why wouldn't they change it now? They're changing the engine all the time. Why wouldn't they do that?
Because it's starting to be really. It's starting to be really ugly
because of how it impacts everything else. Like what I think you're not understanding me or even Scott to some degree, which is like it has a ripple effect. Like if you go too far in the fidelity, suddenly everything sticks out like a sore thumb compared to the environment around it. Now it might work for a new expansion, but then suddenly you're back in Stormwind and you look like a page out of the art book, but Stormwind still looks like a slightly cleaned up version of a vanilla model. That's to me why I think. But again, I also go back to Scott's lifting up a barrel example, as I see that as limitation of engine and not a stylistic choice.
Yeah, and you're also my other point, which is my bigger point. It's not so much the visuals, but my other biggest point is mechanically we are down to like 20 or so activities that you can reskin as different activities, but they're still the same activities in the game. So if you run through a complete questing of a character from 0 to now 60 with the squish, you're going to be doing variations of almost the exact same stuff throughout the game. It'll always be go fetch these and bring them back. Well, those are easy to do, but sometimes it's while you're out fetching these, squish these because they're out there, and so now you got a squish mechanic. But later, that squish mechanic's going to be used in a different way and skinned in a different way, but really mechanically under the hood, it's all sort of the same activities. And I want to get to a place with MMOs in general where it doesn't feel like just reskinned activities all the time. And MMOs, plenty of RPGs suffer from this. Don't get me wrong. Mechanically, I don't know.
I think this kind of gets into a completely different subject to me.
I mean, it may, but that's my whole point. Is if they're going to do something with WoW that takes it from what it is now to something new, it needs to be that level of growth, fidelity, change, all of it for me to want it. Otherwise, why bother? So ironically, I'm kind of arguing Patrick's point at the same time he's arguing. It's the same thing. What he's saying is true. And the reason they've done it is the way they've done it because of that. And they're not going to do WoW 2 because why would they? All the work's done. And your point, Garrett, is totally true. It's not only done, but it's unfathomably huge for them to go and change it all. It would just be ridiculous for them to reskin, rework, redo this game just so WoW can look that much better or run that much better. Like what they have now is fine. I just know if they really wanted to get me and pry money out of my hands the fastest, it would be give me a big immersive world, whether it's an MMO or not, with updated everything so that it doesn't feel like I'm doing the same 5 quest types all day long. That would be cool.
It's at the top of like my magic wand list. So like a wave of magic wand, I would just want like the most beautifully, fully realized version of World of Warcraft with, moving the jank, I guess.
Yeah, move the jank. That's what we're saying. Move the jank. All right, final question here. This is from Ryan M. He says, hey guys, big fan of the show. Been listening to you guys since TBC. I even took a multiple year-long break from WoW when I was in graduate school, but I always listened to the podcast when I wasn't playing. I had a question for Garrett. I've been a casual Hearthstone player for a while. It used to be my go-to game to play on the train to go to work. Since the lockdown started, though, I decided to catch up on solo adventures. I started with Witchwood's Monster Hunt, since that is the last one I tried to play. I play 3 or 4 attempts per night over 50 days and cannot beat this thing. I always stomp all the monsters until the 6th or 7th boss, and then it feels like I get completely destroyed. My question is, am I terrible at Hearthstone? Are the solo adventures supposed to be this hard? Let me know your thoughts. Love the show. Keep up the good work, says Ryan. So, Garrett, what would you tell poor Ryan with his banging his head against
Hi,
the wall?
Ryan. I thought Monster Hunt was one of the worst things they ever added into the game.
Oh, jeez.
I thought it was crap.
Not a fan? All right.
Yeah, I thought the dungeon runs were pretty lame until beginning of last year when they did the Dalaran heist, and they added Bob the Bartender where you could manipulate your deck during the run. It was this one extra layer that just added so much more to like how good the dungeon run felt and how much control over you had, like how much control you had over the very random runs and like the decks that you build along the way as you do runs.
Sure.
If you were listening to Angry Chicken at the time, like we were so done with dungeon runs, like in a crescendoed with Rasakan's Rumble.
Yeah.
I still haven't even logged into it. That's how disinterested I was in the Rasakan's Rumble dungeon run, because I thought they were just basically copy pasting the exact same experience all the way back to Kobolds and Catacombs, which was the first time we had a dungeon run.
Yeah.
And that was really cool, but it wasn't the 2-3 more times that they did it until they got to Dalaran Heist and they added like multiple new features to the dungeon run. And what you're describing is one of the main reasons I really cannot stand this mode, which is you don't know what the final 2 bosses are going to be, and every boss gets put like a little harder, a little harder, a little harder. But then the 7th and 8th bosses are like extremely hard.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what they are, you can't draft a strategy to beat them, and you don't know what they are until you go up against them. So it's just complete random luck if you happen to draft like the type of deck that can actually have a chance against these bosses.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I didn't like it for very long. But also, it just didn't. It was supposed to be kind of this Slay the Spire like roguelike card deck builder mode, and it just never lived up to it. Like, go play Slay the Spire. It's a better version of that.
Yeah, or honestly, try Dalaran Heist. I think it's like the best version of that Hearthstone has accomplished by a landslide victory. I loved it. I played the crap out of Dalaran Heist, and I couldn't stand dungeon runs at that point. I was like open disdain for it on my own Hearthstone podcast.
Yeah, I remember you didn't like that very much at the time.
Yeah, they were. I thought they were just such a complete like dropping the ball of content. So. You're not alone. It and that is the goal. And some people like it. It's supposed to be a total random kind of crapshoot, and you're supposed to just kind of give yourself over to that and try and have a good time. I hate fun, so I don't like it.
There you go, you fun hater. Final question. Shuntz says, guys, I really like your monthly bonus shows. Great stuff, but I want to get them early. When I sign up, is there a level I need to choose to be on that list? Thanks for your help. Turns out all the levels get it. If you become an Instance Plus member, every level on there gets the bonus show. So don't you stress your little heads. In fact, the week-old one was just put up today, and that one goes to everybody. But if you want them early, just sign up for any level, and boom, it's yours whenever we do them. So thanks, Shuntz, for asking. Go check that out at theinstance.net, and you'll find everything else about the show there. All right, before we get out of here, quick round table about what's going on in the world of our other podcasteries. Patrick, what are you doing this week?
Nothing. Just go follow stuff that Scott and Garrett do.
No, don't do that. Follow Patrick's Instagram account. It's a happy place, and it's always in the forest.
It is. That's true.
Yeah, I like forest things. And also, FrenchSpin.com is really good because there's a lot of shows there you should listen to, and it's all very good. He's also on the Daily Tech News Show today, so listen to that. He'll talk about tech in some rad way.
It's going to be brilliant.
Yeah, I know it is. I can feel it. I've been feeling it all morning, and now you've confirmed it. That feeling wasn't just homoeroticism. I knew you had something going
on. All right.
Also, Garrett, anything this week at amove.tv? Tell the fine folks.
Well, off of amove.tv, speaking of Daily Tech News Show, I am continuing my short YouTube video series on working remotely and giving remote work tips with Tom Merritt. He joined me this past week. It literally just went up yesterday. So this is for the Arrowhead Center, which is over at the New Mexico State University. They asked me to do a series of short videos for them with tips on working remotely. And Tom Merritt is joining me for this one and the next couple, giving some remote work security tips. So go to youtube.com/Arrowhead Center, and you'll see Tom Merritt on a thumbnail. You can't miss it. It just went up. Everything else is at amove.tv. There was there is a big Hearthstone set of nerfs and a few buffs that I believe went live today that we'll be talking about on the Angry Chicken tomorrow with our special guest Jonathan Vigil, the lead singer of the Ghost Inside. If you're a fan of that band, he's also a raging Hearthstone head. So
cool.
Go listen to that. Everything's at amove.tv. Plenty of shows for you to listen to. Go check it out.
Nice catch on that guy. That's very good. For me, I actually want to give a shout out to the show I do on Wednesday nights with John Jagger and Bo Schwartz called Core. A lot of people think that show is just about Heroes of the Storm because it used to be that is what it was. We pivoted right around the time Blizzard made a bunch of changes in Heroes, and we said, you know what, we'll let Into the Nexus have all the glory. We're going to do our own thing, and we made it a all-around video game industry show where we talk about industry news, games that are making big splashes, stuff we're playing, big, long, deep conversations about the existential world of video games. So if you sounds interesting to you, you want to add that to your library, super easy to do so, and it's free, of course. Head on over to frogpants.com/core and check it out. I think there's something there for you to like. I think that's going to do it for us. Big thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll be back with another show next week. In the meantime, theinstance.net is where you're going to find everything you might need, including our Twitter accounts. Instance Show. I'm at Scott Johnson. Garrett is at Garrett Art. Patrick is at Not Patrick. And more shows just like this at frogpants.com. That's going to do it for us. We'll see you next time. This show is part of the Frog Pants Network.
Frog Pants Network.
Get more shows like this at frogpants.com. Yeah.